everyone, and welcome to another animated look back. Not sure how many of you noticed, but my intro for Animated Look Back has always had a few consistencies in it. The intro always starts with either the clip from Sword in the Stone or from Frozen. It always ends with a clip from one of the How to Train Your Dragon movies. And in the middle, there's always this particular scene from this movie. And the reason I bring this up is because I have wanted to review this movie since the beginning of Animated Look Back. So you might ask, well, why didn't you? Because I could never get the timing right. If you're going to review Monster House, you gotta release it around Halloween. This is one of the few animated movies out there that directly places itself in the holiday. And gosh darn it, if it killed me, I was definitely gonna let this review air on Halloween. So let's take a look at Monster House and why I wanted to review this movie so badly. Monster House is a movie that follows a young boy named JD. I meant DJ. The other DJ. He lives across the street from an old man named Mr. Nevercracker who takes all of the toys that ever land on his yard and yells and terrorizes any child who comes near.
Do you want to be eaten alive? No. Then get out of here!
DJ is very curious about old Nevercracker and why he's doing this. And he spies on him from his window. One day, when DJ's friend Chowder loses a basketball on Nevercracker's lawn, DJ goes to try to grab it, only to be grabbed by the old man with, shall we say, less than stellar results.
Why can't you just stay away from her?
Then after this scene, the house that Nevercracker lived in and he took such good care of starts to haunt DJ. Then fully comes alive and tries to eat Chowder when he ding-dong dishes the house. Along the way, they eventually save this girl named Jenny who is going door to door selling candy for her school. And together they try to solve the mystery of the house and how to stop it before it gobbles up every kid for Halloween. The first thing that I want to talk about this movie is the animation, because the way the movie is animated by using motion capture effects is just like the way they used it on movies like The Polar Express or Disney's Christmas Carol. However, unlike those movies, they don't try to make it look super realistic. The character designs are more simplified and they aren't trying to look super realistic like those other movies. And because of that, it gives us a real unique feeling to the animation that's really unlike any other movie. The camera work and facial expressions are a lot better than most films. This really helps add to the eeriness and the creepiness of the world because our characters feel and walk and move like regular people do.
3 seconds on the clock. I'm playing basketball.
And it makes it look way more realistic than most animated movies. But the world is also really creative. Like when the house comes alive, we get to see in full detail how it becomes a monster and also how it goes back into looking like a regular house. Honestly, I love the design of it. It's a monster really unlike any other. And I think it grasps at a unique feeling of scariness from our childhood. Like, I think every one of us has looked at a creepy building that's had the 2 windows and felt like it was eyes watching you. And this fully brings that feeling to life. And I like that it's actually scary, but it's not too scary for kids. You know, it's just scary enough to get the kids good and scared, but not scared enough to scar them for life and to make them wet their bed. And I think you couldn't do this as well with regular animation. I mean, you could do a good job. I just don't think it would have had the exact same feel. I also don't think it would have worked if you did it in live action with a CGI house. It just would have looked fake and, it wouldn't have worked. It was a perfect fit for this story, and I'm actually sad that it didn't really catch on. I mean, I know Robert Zemeckis and his team are probably the only ones that has really perfected this type of technology, and the movies, let's be honest, haven't really been gangbusters in terms of hits. But I think the reason it works the best in this film is because it doesn't try to go super realistic, It's not trying to look exactly like the actors. It's not trying to look like live action, but with CGI animation. And because of that, we don't have any weird, uncanny valley looks where you're like, I don't know, there's something a little off about that. I don't like the way Tom Hanks is looking at me. But even though it's not trying to look realistic, the movements feel so real that even some scenes in this movie still at first glance, look like they're real. And because it's not trying to look too realistic, the characters don't look creepy unless they want the characters to look creepy. And when they want them to, they do.
So sorry. I didn't mean...
You are dead!
The movie has a great sense of atmosphere, too. I love the way they use small details, like that shadow scene where he's going to bed. Oh, that creeped me out. But the thing that really creeped me out is when he gets the phone call from the house, and as soon as he hits the off button, it rings again. That was like, okay, that's a little creepy.
Hello?
Although, to be fair, how loud is that phone in the other house that he could hear it a block away through a closed window? Yeah, that doesn't really make any sense. But the movie is dripping a nice, creepy moment that will leave you... Some of them are, honestly, they're just downright terrifying.
Way to go, big nose!
Some people think the animation of the characters might look a little simple, but I don't care because the expressions are great and the animation overall is great, and honestly, I don't have any problem with it at all, and I don't think any other style of animation would have captured this movie quite as perfectly. I also love the way the movie handles its characters because everyone is acting in character all of the time, and that goes double for the kids because this whole movie has a grasp on kids and how they would actually act. I mean, for one thing, they had the revolutionary idea to have kids voice kids. What? Why didn't they get a celebrity? Because they're not idiots. It really is very refreshing to have DJ Chowder and Jenny voiced by actual kids. But I just love the way that the movie sets up all of the characters. I mean, take Z, for example. She drives out singing a nice wholesome song, seems to be dressed to go to church or something, but Chowder seems to run away from her for some reason. It gives you an off feeling like, what? What's going on? And as soon as she knows that the parents are already gone, she sheds her wholesome skin and then boom, punk rocker.
Now listen up. I control the TV, the stereo, and the phone. I don't do board games, shrinky-dinks, or tuck-ins. I'm not your mother. I'm not your friend.
And it's an interesting thing, because most of the characters in this film are not necessarily nice characters. I mean, especially the teenagers. They're all jerks. Even the ones that you're supposed to like, they're still jerks. But that's kind of realistic, isn't it? But even if they're jerks, they will still all have a purpose to the story. Like, for example, take Bones. At first glance, Bones seems to be just the over-jerky jerk who is just being the jerkest of all the jerkies.
Serious? Did you know he was serious?
Oh, man, give her back.
Oh, her? You mind?
Oh, come on, gross!
Come on, Bones.
Wait, hold on, dude. I think she's having trouble breathing. She might have something in her throat. All right, I'll look into it.
Okay, Bones, knock it off. Downstairs, now.
And you might think his only purpose in the story is just to be a douche and get eaten. But actually, if you look at the movie, he actually gives us a lot of useful information in the beginning. He's the one that tells us that Nevercracker had a wife and that one time he saw him kissing his house. Now, I remember when I saw this for the first time, I remember thinking he was full of it because he was trying to get into Z's pants, as it were. So we really walk away from that scene only taking the fact that he had a wife seriously from that conversation. Everything flows in a logical direction, including the kids calling the police. Too many movies have kids getting really brave and deciding to take on the evil threat by themselves way too quickly. This one, they try to tell the people around them, they don't believe them. And then they try to call the cops. They don't believe them. And it's only then when they realize, okay, we got a time crunch, Halloween is tonight, and we don't want anybody to get hurt, that's when they feel like we gotta take it on by ourselves. For the police, I actually really think they're a lot of fun. Kevin James plays a small-town cop who knows nothing ever happens on his shift and is comfortable with that. And Nick Cannon is a wide-eyed rookie that is ready to jump at anything and treat it as a huge threat.
Doggy down! We've got a situation.
Whoa. What are you doing?
Call him for backup. Didn't you hear what the kid said? There's a dangerous creature inside that house.
We don't have backup. It's just Judy at the station. And this is no situation. It's just a couple tater tots hopped up on too many pixie sticks.
I bet you the dead dog would beg to differ.
What was that?
Nothing.
So the kids try going to the cops, it doesn't work, and so then they decide to go to a teenager that is probably the only teenager that will listen to them and might have any ideas. And that is Skull, a teenager played by John Heder.
In my travels to the video store and comic book conventions, I've seen many strange and wondrous things. And I've heard tell of man-made structures becoming possessed by a human soul so that the spirit becomes merged with wood and brick, creating a rare form of monster.
And part of me feels like this character is a little bit of typecasted for John Heder because there are some scenes where he sounds a little bit Napoleon Dynamite-ish.
What?
Okay, Old Man Nevercracker's house is possessed, and I need to know how to destroy it before it comes out and tries to kill
Calm
me.
down. You make me want to throw up in some tinfoil and eat it.
Which is only to be expected. I mean, Napoleon Dynamite just came out a couple of years before, so he was at the height of its popularity at the point when he got casted. But I have to give so much credit to John Heder because he puts so much energy into his performance. Because his movements are so over the top that it feels so much more real. I kind of wish he was in the movie more, because his character is just so much fun.
I won't be seeing you later.
But now I want to talk about our main three characters, and let's start with Jenny, played by Spencer Locke. Jenny is fun. I love her opening as she's selling candy door to door. We see right away how determined she is, knocking twice, making sure Z doesn't slam the door in her face, and then once she finds out that she is dealing with a babysitter, she starts selling it at a new angle.
Okay, let's cut the crap. Maybe the parents you work for left you $40 in emergency money.
Maybe they left me 30.
Maybe you give me 20, I write a receipt for 30, and you pocket 10.
Maybe. And I want 2 extra bags of peanut clusters.
1 bag, and I'll toss in a licorice whip.
You're good.
And even though at first, when she sees the boys coming at her, yelling at her to get away from the house, she's talking down to them. I mean, to be fair, they were acting like lunatics. After the house tries to eat her, she becomes the more level-headed one of the group. You know, she's the one that decides to call the police, and is actually trying to word it in a way that the police might buy it and look into it, where the boys are like, "It's gonna eat you!" I also like how she thinks fast on her feet, you know? When they're all about to get eaten by the house, she's the one that uses her knowledge about the human body and how it works in order to save them all. And she helps DJ find the courage in order to go on top of the crane.
I can't. Yes, you can. Go. I kissed a girl. I kissed a girl on the lips.
Technically, she kissed you, buddy. The one thing that I don't really care for is the fact that her presence in the film leads to a love triangle with our main characters. Now, with Chowder and DJ fighting for her affection, I mean, to be fair, it at least leads to some funny scenes.
Jenny Bennett, 2-term class president at Westbrook Prep. That's a tough school to get into.
Yeah, I got in, but decided not to go.
It's a girls' school.
Which is why I didn't.
But I just never liked love triangles. Now, fortunately for me, the movie doesn't have them all trying to act cool and impress her the whole time. It's just when they first meet her. And there's some tiny things here and there throughout the film, but it's not they don't start acting like idiots for the whole movie, just for a little bit. Still, no problem with Jenny. I think she's a lot of fun. Now, when it comes to Chowder, I think this is the character that will either make or break the film for you.
Questions? Yes, are you nuts? I don't want to steal drugs from my father. I don't want to go inside a monster, and I don't want to die.
I say it's worth a shot.
Yes, I agree. Let's do it.
If I show this movie to someone and they're not laughing at Chowder, I'm just like, oh no, they're gonna hate this. They're gonna hate this movie. Chowder in a lot of ways is the typical fat kid in any of those Goonies-like movies. But I don't know what it is, but he makes me laugh so hard. I think he's hilarious.
Is this pee? Because if it is, that's really gross.
DJ? You pee in bottles? What are you talking about? That one's your pee. It's yours.
But on the other hand, I can also kind of see where other people might become annoyed with him. I mean, his character is obnoxious, a little whiny, and maybe doesn't respect boundaries as much as he should. But for me, that doesn't matter, because for one thing, I think it's understandable, because just take a look at his home life.
Where are your parents?
My dad's at the pharmacy and my mom's at the movies with her personal trainer.
He's worried about you.
He should be. Hey, listen, I'm with you guys. My cousin's a cop in Milwaukee. I mean, kind of a cop. He has a gun.
Yeah, they gotta love you downtown, Jughead.
And he clearly has some self-confidence issues that he needs to overcome and overcompensates for.
Hey, guys! Look who just won! It's me, the screw-up! Way to go, Johnny! You did it!
And his only real friend is DJ, who is also a social outcast. Now here's the thing, Chowder is all throughout the film. He probably has the second most amount of lines, right? So if he doesn't make you laugh, I can see how it would be pretty easy for him to make you cringe. I even thought maybe this is just me when I was a kid. When I was rewatching this, I was thinking maybe he was just funny for me as a kid, and maybe he won't be this time. But I still laugh. I don't know what it is about him, he just gets my funny bone.
It's time for an in-your-face disgrace! Are you okay? My nose is in my brain! Let me see. Oh my god. What? You're a dork.
Now when it comes to DJ, he's probably more the typical main character that you would see in an animated movie. You know, he is smart, but he wants to grow up too quickly, and it's the one character that the house hates the most. Most of the time, it is he that is coming up with the plans to help defeat the house. And he's the one that was watching Mr. Nebbercracker through his telescope, although that is one of the things that I think might be a little forced. Not might, it is forced. Mostly I think that because we're never told why he's doing it in the first place. You know, does he want Nebbercracker to return all the toys and he's just keeping track of who belongs to what? Or maybe he's planning on reporting them to the police, or I don't know, maybe he's just doing it for kicks. But this seems to be taking place at the very least before the internet, so I don't know, maybe that's an explanation, because we did crazy things back in the day before we had internet. But fortunately, while he is typical, he isn't boring. He's a good character to see the story through the eyes of. You know, he's a kid who wants to grow up but isn't really ready. He says he doesn't need a babysitter, but he sleeps with a stuffed animal. He's too old to go trick-or-treating, but he looks up to a pizza delivery guy. And when his grand plan to defeat the house doesn't work, he just realizes how out of his depth he is. But I also like how brave he is, you know? He's the one that goes on Nebbercracker's lawn to get the ball back. When the cops are there watching, he's the one jumping on it, you know, doing his dance trying to get the house to try to attack him. And in the end climax, he does some pretty amazing stuff to win the day. Overall, I wouldn't say he's a mind-blowing, amazing protagonist, but I think he's a good one.
The only way that we're gonna get out of here alive is if we find the heart, we put out the fire.
Maybe we should examine our other options?
Sure, other option. We wait here and do nothing until it wakes up and eats us.
Find the heart, put out the fire. Got it.
Now there's a couple characters that I haven't talked about yet, and the reason I haven't talked about them is because I don't want to spoil it. Now here's the thing, for Animated Look Back, I don't usually give a spoiler warning or anything because I'm reviewing movies that are old, you know? If you haven't seen it yet, then don't come crying to me if I've spoiled it for you, because why are you watching a review of it if you haven't seen it yet? It doesn't make any sense. But I don't want to do that for this one because I know Monster House isn't the most well-known film. So, you know, someone who maybe is a subscriber of mine maybe just kind of interested and don't want to actually see the movie. So this is my spoiler warning. If I've piqued your interest in this film at all, maybe you should go check it out before you're coming back. Heck, I don't even care if you come back. You know, I want you to, but it's just like, if I cannot spoil this twist for you and keep you in the dark a little bit, I would prefer that. Alright. Are we good? Alright, moving on. Now, when the trailers for this movie were out, there was none of them that showed Mr. Nebbercracker. At least, none of the ones that I saw. And so when the movie unfolded and he showed up, I was actually a little surprised to see someone living in that house. You know, I just thought, oh, this is going to be a movie where it's just a old house that nobody lives in and it comes to life. And then, after his heart attack, or whatever he has, the movie's mystery of the house begins. And everything seems to be fitting into place with Nebbercracker dying and becoming the haunted house. You know, he's an angry old man who tormented the kids of the neighborhood, and now he's come back from the dead to continue it. And he blames the one kid that helped cause his death and wants to get revenge on him personally. And then small stuff slowly points to maybe that not being the case. When the kids get into the house, the first thing that threw me off was the photos. In them, he seemed genuinely happy. His wife was a large woman, but I thought that was more of a sight gag than anything. You know, here's the skinny man with the large woman. Even when I saw the scene with her body completely cased in cement, which is a really... It's a creepy image, let's just say.
Constance. Holy moly. He really did eat her. Couldn't have. Her whole body is buried in cement.
I didn't know what to make of that, though. You know, does that mean he was a killer before, or what? I don't know. And I didn't see the twist coming, and then when it was revealed, oh, it hit me like a brick.
Honey? I'm home. Oh, look at you, dear. Your shingles are all ruffled. Your windows are cracked. Oh, but it's no problem, sweetheart. It's no problem at all.
It's her.
I personally find the story of Constance Nebbercracker to be one of the most tragic things I've ever seen in an animated movie. She was a circus freak that Mr. Nebbercracker fell in love with. You know, we can tell by her accent that she probably came to America, to the circus, for dreaming of a better life, but was instead made fun of and called a freak. Spending her nights sleeping in a cage, hoping that one day she'd ever have a better life. Then this skinny young man comes to her, offers to take her away, and he does. And they fall in love, and they start making a house together. A house that she probably never dreamed she would ever have a house. And we see some kids on Halloween throwing rocks at her house. And I love the way the dialogue here is written. You know, she says,
Now, they're just kids, dear. It's Halloween.
No, it's my house, and they're hurting me!
She says, it's my house, and they are hurting me. And right there, we see right from the get-go, she's already views the house as part of her identity as a person. She then goes too far trying to protect it, swinging an axe at the kids, and then Nebbercracker tries to stop her, leading to her falling to her death and being encased in concrete, and becoming literally part of the house. That is messed up. I mean, it makes sense now why she only attacks kids at first. You know, whenever an adult or a teenager shows up, the house just goes back to normal. Because she doesn't want to attack them, just kids. Because kids are the reason that she lost her life. And the only time she messes with the older people is when they mess with her lawn and her house. I mean, she only attacks Bones after he wrecks her lawn. Same with the police officers. I mean, they came the first time, and the house just left them alone. Didn't attack them, even though it probably could have. For the police officers, just pretended to be a regular old house. But as soon as the police officers drove their car all over the curb and scratched her lawn, oh, then it was time for them to go down. I mean, if you think about it, the house would have gotten partially what it wanted if it just left the police car alone. The kids would have been taken off to jail, and the house would have been free to eat all the kids for Halloween. But you hurt my lawn, and you got to go. This is my house, and you're hurting me. I also love the symbolism of the fact that she is cased in cement, but also that her circus cage is still surrounding her. Meaning, after all these years, she still is trapped in that cage. And to her, anyone who trespasses on her lawn might as well be throwing eggs at her and calling her a freak. I love this twist because the best twists in movies are like a puzzle that has two pieces that seemingly fit in the same place. Everything that they thought about Mr. Nebuchadnezzar could have been true, and there was no reason to think that it wasn't true. And then boom, the twist hits you, and like that, everything else fits into place. What Bones said about how he saw him kissing his house, the reason Nebuchadnezzar stole toys in the first place, and even silly jokes like this.
Well, if those are the teeth, and that's the tongue, then that must be the uvula.
Oh, so it's a girl house.
What?
It helps set up the end twist of the story. I also find Mr. Nebuchadnezzar, played by Steve Buscemi, to be such a tragic character. I mean, he was just a nice man who fell in love, and then tragedy struck. A tragedy that forced him to be a mean-spirited, hate-filled man in order to keep other people safe.
And that night, that one night of every year, I had to take precautions. Trick or treat! I had to.
I also love just how the whole movie handles the house itself and the way it works, because they're always consistent with it. For example, the house looks with the two upstairs windows, and that works for both looking outside and inside. When it's looking around trying to find the kids that are inside it, it's looking with the windows. I also love how Mr. Nebuchadnezzar, he's taking the toys from the kids to keep them away from the house, but she's using them to lure kids back to the house to enact her revenge on anyone who crosses her. And the fact that it all is taking place on Halloween adds a ticking timer, okay? We don't have time to wait around to figure this out. Tonight, kids are going to be saying trick or treat, and let me just say, it's going to be one big trick where they're gobbled whole. Although that does bring up one big flaw of the movie, okay? Like, the house is doing its best to stay out of sight and not be noticed until the last part of the movie where it just rips itself out of the ground and chases them through this town. And it's on Halloween. How does nobody see this?
The house is alive!
Alright kids, what house should we do next? That is an amazing costume. How did they do that, do you think? Hey, let's skip Mrs. Jensen's house, right? I mean, she always gives up vegetables, so yeah, let's just move on to the next one. But besides that big plot hole, I think the climax of this film is a lot of fun. Because starting from them going inside the house, everyone gets a hero moment. Jenny saves them from the house eating them by making it throw up. Chowder runs the excavator and takes the house head on in a fun battle.
You ain't nothing! You're a shack! You're an outhouse!
And then DJ gets the final blow by dropping the dynamite after a crane scene that goes back and forth, and I'm like, holy crap, this is too awesome for this kid to be doing it. He'd be pissing his pants right now, but I don't care. He drops the dynamite down the chimney, and it explodes in awesomeness. It really is a thrill ride of a climax, and it's so much fun. And then the movie has what I think is a truly touching moment where we see the spirit of Constance dancing with Mr. Nebuchadnezzar one last time before it disappears.
Goodbye.
I love that. They both finally get a moment to move on and be at peace after just having one final moment together. Although, thinking about it, I don't know how much peace Mr. Nevercracker is going to have, because he stole an ambulance in order to get there on Halloween night. So he's either, at best case, going to a home, or he's going to probably jail. But anyway, the film ends with all the people that the house ate coming out of the wreckage and revealing that they lived. I see how some people say that this is a cop-out. It's like, oh, boo, they should have just had them dead. But I don't know. The way I see it, if the house didn't get destroyed, they probably would have been stuck in there and would have starved to death anyway. So, yeah, I think it still works. But anyway, the boys say goodbye to Jenny.
She grabbed my butt.
Chowder, her arms aren't long enough to reach your butt, you lying son of... And then DJ decides that he's not too grown up to do a little bit of trick-or-treating, and then the movie ends. You know, I don't know if I saw this movie for the first time today, if I would be able to pick up on the twist or not. But for me, I just thought it was a lot of fun and pretty scary, but not too scary for kids. I think the writers knew how to go just on the right line when it came to the tone and the atmosphere of this movie. And you know what? And one of the writers, I was shocked when I realized he was one of the people that wrote on this movie, was Dan Harmon, who you might know as one of the co-creators of Rick and Morty. So yeah, here's my recommendation. If you are a fan of Rick and Morty, Dan Harmon actually helped write this one, so maybe it'll be your style of humor too.
I don't know how to tell you this.
Your boyfriend has most likely been eaten alive.
Sherry Clausen.
But anyway, I digress. I think Monster House is a lot of fun for a movie. It's pretty frightening for kids, but it's not too scary. It has a lot of great atmosphere, and I'm going to be giving it an 8 out of 10. Honestly, if it wasn't for a few things with some of the characters, like the love triangle stuff going on, it might even rate higher. But I think because the characters are more simplistic, and it's the story of the movie that really hits home, that's why I think an 8 out of 10 is a good fit for this movie. In my mind, it's still a fun movie for all ages, and it's the perfect Halloween treat, even for a guy like me who doesn't really celebrate Halloween. And you might ask, hey, if you don't celebrate Halloween, why are you dressed like DJ? You think I'm dressed like DJ? You think I'm dressed like DJ? Hobbs, can you believe that? They think I'm just like DJ? Whatever. Anyway, I think that this movie is still a fun one. So thanks for watching, everybody, and make sure you join me on my next animated look back where I'm going to review American Tail. See you around.
Whoa.
Hey, yeah, sorry. I just wanted to know, did any of you ever notice my little Easter egg? You know how I said in the beginning that I've had the same clip in my animated look back intros? Did you ever notice what was said in that clip?
Don't look back! I look back!
Yeah, the clip to my animated look back said, I looked back and don't look back. It was a little Easter egg to my name of the review. I don't know why I've kept it in there. I just thought that was a funny little nod to the review, and nobody has ever noticed it. I've been waiting for someone to say, hey, that's kind of funny that this says that. No one noticed it. Well, now you know.